During the First World War, Stravinsky found himself stranded in Switzerland, away from Paris and his usual collaborators, and cut off from his usual sources of income. Together with the Swiss author Charles Ferdinand Ramus, he conceived of the idea of a small theatrical troupe that could visit Swiss villages to perform. This idea of building a small, portable and cost-effective performing group born out of practical and financial necessity has striking parallels with our own situation today. This very concert is a good example of how small-scale productions are currently the most viable way to create live performances in these restricted and financially straitened times. In fact, the parallels with today are even more striking than that. After the premiere in Lausanne, the outbreak of the Spanish flu epidemic meant that the Swiss government ordered the closure of every public performance venue, and the rest of the tour had to be cancelled. Musically, The Soldier's Tale straddles two periods in Stravinsky's compositional career. His Russian period, represented by the great ballets Firebird, Petrushka and The Rite of Spring, and neoclassicism, of which Pulcinella, written in 1920, was the first great example. In some ways, it shows characteristics of both, with the rapidly changing time signatures and the energized repeated figures of The Rite of Spring, combining with an incredibly eclectic mixture of musical influences, including jazz, church chorales, and various forms of dance music. The piece itself was originally conceived for 7 musicians, 3 actors, and a dancer, but in our performance, the 3 roles will be taken by a single actor. Stravinsky's choice of instruments was governed by his ear for unusual sonorities, as well as his study of jazz, with 3 pairs of low and high instruments. There's violin double bass, clarinet bassoon, and trumpet trombone, the 7th instrument being percussion. The plot revolves around a Faustian battle between a soldier, Joseph, who happens to be a useful violinist, and the devil. As the soldier heads home on leave, the devil persuades him to swap his violin for a book that foretells the future. Throughout the piece, the footsteps of the trudging soldier can be heard in the double bass, and the character of the soldier in the violin, with its own endlessly repeating ostinato. The book makes the soldier a fortune, but he soon realizes that riches do not lead to fulfillment. In part 2, the soldier frees himself from the devil by losing all his money to him at cards, then cures a princess of her mystery illness by playing her 3 dances on his violin and proceeds to marry her. These 3 dances form a kind of virtuoso centerpiece to the work and show the diverse range of Stravinsky's influences in his composition of this piece. First, a tango, which is given a dark, sinister hue by being written in the lowest of the violin's registers. Then the music bursts into sunshine as the waltz begins. The mood continues to lighten and gets steadily more manic before erupting into a frenzied ragtime. Etc. The devil warns that Joseph must not cross the border back to his home village or he will be recaptured. But in an echo of the Orpheus story, the temptation to both keep his new wife and be reunited with his mother is too much. Joseph crosses the frontier and turns back to find his bride gone. Much has been written about the meaning of this piece, what its message might be. On one level, it's a simple fable, the devil, ironically, acting as the moral authority that condemns the soldier's selfishness and greed. But that ignores the music and the message that this gives out. For example, the musical backdrop to the pronouncement of the moral is an ironic parody of a Bach chorale, and the soldier's final destruction is carried out over a grotesque triumphal march, which feels anything but triumphant. Throughout the piece, the music feels sympathetic to the soldier, and it's tempting to see Stravinsky's own creative identity wrapped up in the soldier's fate. The soldier would have to sacrifice his own individuality and submit to social conformity in order to survive in this world. Whatever we choose to see in the meaning of the piece, it's impossible to ignore its visceral energy and its musical virtuosity, the dazzling range of musical styles and the cabaret-like set pieces, and the wit and humour that permeate the score. And it's the impact of all this that's made it such a popular and enduring piece.